let's talk about Star Trek Into Darkness. Okay, so I went to see Star Trek Into Darkness today. Actually, just sort of came back from that just now, and I thought I'd do sort of like an impromptu sort of film review sort of type thing, I guess. There are sort of a few sort of things I'd like to sort of point out first about the trailer. Even though I've seen the film, I would sort of like to point out. Sorry. Okay, so now that's done with. Yeah, I can get back to what I was going to say. The first thing I noticed about the trailer, and this is not the film, although obviously I did notice it in the film as well because it's in the film. The Enterprise looks a lot like a pizza cutter. Secondly, Benedict Cumberbatch saying the words, "I am better."
I am better.
Yes, Benedict, we know that you're better than us. You're just stupidly clever, really. On the topic of Benedict, Benedict's voice is like caramel being poured into my ear, and I can't help but just go.
I will walk over your cold corpses.
So the review itself, as it were, this is going to be very impromptu. I've never really sort of done this sort of thing before. What is wrong with my hair? So yeah, I've not really sort of done a film review before, but I'm doing sort of like a collab thing. I'll mention it at the end. But yeah, I thought Star Trek Into Darkness was fantastic. It was very well acted. The scenes were all very scripted very well. It had some great turns in it. I must just say I'm not actually like a proper Trekkie. I saw the first sort of reboot film back when it came out, and I thought that was great, so I had to go see the other one. I have sort of general knowledge of Star Trek, so I sort of know the main villains and sort of stuff like that, and so if you're not really into Star Trek, you can still go and watch this film and really get a lot out of it. I can't really find many flaws with this film. The acting was just brilliant. The scenes and the scenery and all the sets were fantastic. The way they sort of managed to incorporate the whole sort of Star Trek universe, to my mind, was wonderful. And all the characters, I mean, I have seen sort of a little bit of Star Trek, and all the characters that they sort of did use were incorporated very nicely, and I quite like that a lot about the film, and it sort of makes it a lot more believable. The one thing that I did find slightly annoying, and I'm not entirely sure about anybody else, and I know it's sort of like a spacey sort of sci-fi sort of film, I get that. It's Star Trek, you know, you got to expect the flashing lights and the beepy noises and the swooshing of doors that are made by people sitting behind the doors. But the lens flares, I don't know if anybody else notices, the lens flares are getting away of a lot of the shots of the film, and there's actually one where I can't remember who it is, but they're sort of talking, and they're talking sort of at the camera, but there's a lens flare and you cannot see their face, really. It sort of gets in the way a little bit, but what is going on with my hair? Excuse me. But that's pretty much the only thing I could really like nitpick at. Overall, the general sort of like the action, the storyline was just fantastic, and I can't really recommend this movie enough to anybody who really wants to go and see it. It's just a very enjoyable film. Even if you haven't seen the first one, there's no sort of well, obviously there is ties obviously between the first and second. It sort of helps if you've seen the first, I guess, but there's no essential need to see the first one. Some Star Trekky people will be disagreeing with me completely here and saying yes, you need to see the first one, but I sort of say if you are sort of detached from the Star Trek world, just, you know, it doesn't really matter all too much. You can just happily go and watch the second Star Trek film and come out, you know, having enjoyed a very good film with some very good actors in. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole review. Let's do a verdict. So the verdict, I think, for this film is what I'm going to give today, and let's lean slightly more this way, then I can put like a graphic here, and I'll put a score out of 10, and that score will be 9 out of 10, because I can't justify giving it 10 mainly because of the lens flares. But the lens flares were good. I did like the lens flares. They did add to like scenes, and it sort of made it really cool. And like I say, the acting was fantastic and everything was great, and Benedict Cumberbatch was in it, so it's even more great. But sometimes the lens flares just sort of got in the way a little bit. So yeah, I think 9 out of 10 is well deserved. Also, the soundtrack, I forgot to mention, the soundtrack is just out of this world. Pardon the pun. But it is truly a fantastic film, so very worthwhile seeing. Okay, so yeah, this is the collab sort of part of the video. I've done my review on Star Trek Into Darkness. I've sort of given you my views on what I thought. And now, if you go there, I got it right this time. I'll put a link to a video by KingCeryni, who's also on YouTube, and she has done a review of Star Trek Into Darkness as well. And so she gives her thoughts and opinions on what she thinks. And hey, you know, she might give a better score than me. She might give a worse score than me, although I doubt that. She's a Trekkie. So actually, if you want to hear the views of a proper Trekkie about the new Star Trek film, go and see that video wherever it may be linked. Go and see it, because she'll probably have more information than I possibly ever could have done. So yeah, that's about it.